All right, today we're jumping into a truly epic philosophical duel. It's a thousand-year-old argument from 11th century Persia, a battle of pure logic that takes on one of the biggest questions you can possibly ask. Is any of this, actually real? You know that feeling, right? It sounds like something straight out of a sci-fi movie, but it's actually an ancient puzzle. And there's this group of thinkers, the Sophists, who took this question deadly seriously. They basically argued that, yeah, this is all an illusion, that nothing around us has any true reality. So how on earth did they build a case for such a wild idea? Let's get into it. So here's our game plan. First, we'll unpack that whole dream argument. Then we'll dig into the Sophist logic. After that, we'll see how an 11th century philosopher completely dismantled it. We'll connect it to some other big names in philosophy. And finally, we'll talk about what it means to have a reality that you can actually trust. Okay, let's get right to the heart of it. Who were these people who looked at the world and basically saw a mirage? It's time to meet the Sophists. The Sophists were a pretty influential school of thought back in ancient Greece, and their ideas have been rattling around in philosophy ever since. Their core claim was, well, pretty bold, that nothing has what's called hakikat. And that's a word that means more than just real. It's like an essential, objective, unshakable truth. To them, the world we see and touch is no more solid or real than a dream you forget when you wake up. But how could they possibly justify a claim that big? Now, the Sophists weren't just throwing out opinions. They actually had a logical argument to back this whole thing up. Let's take a look at how they built their case for a world without any real substance. Their entire argument is built on a really simple observation. Everything is always changing. I mean, think about it. The person you were a second ago isn't quite the person you are right now. The world is just this constant, relentless flow. So they argued if nothing has a fixed, stable identity from one moment to the next, not the world, not even us, then it's missing a key ingredient of what it means to be real. It acts just like a dream, where things can just morph and vanish for no reason. So they made this logical leap. If our waking world is just as unstable as a dream, then what basis do we have for calling it real at all? For centuries, people really wrestled with this idea. And then, in the 11th century, a Persian poet and philosopher named Nasir Khusraw came on the scene, and he didn't try to fight back with faith or complex metaphysics. Nope. He used the Sophists' own weapon, logic, against them, and set this beautiful, simple, and absolutely devastating trap. Khusraw just zooms in on the one statement that holds their entire worldview together. Nothing has reality. He decided to look at this sentence not for what it means, but for what it is logically. And this is the genius question. He says, forget the world, forget dreams, just look at these 4 words. Nothing has reality. Is that statement, as a statement, a real thing? Or is it not? And just by asking this, he backs the entire sophist argument into a corner it can never, ever get out of. This right here is the trap, laid out perfectly. Let's just walk through it. Khusraw points out there are only 2 possibilities. First, option A. A sophist says, okay, my statement, nothing has reality, is itself a real and true statement. Well, if that's the case, then, whoops, you've just admitted that something in the universe is real, your statement, which means your statement is false. It eats itself. So what about option B? The sophist backs up and says, fine, my statement isn't real either. But if the statement has no reality, then it's just noise. It's meaningless. It can't deny reality any more than a random sound can. It fails to do anything at all. Either way you go, the argument just completely falls apart. Pure logic proves you can't even coherently say that reality doesn't exist. Now, I know this kind of logical twist can feel a bit like a brain teaser, but luckily, Nasir Khusraw gave us a fantastic, really simple example to show exactly how this kind of logic works in everyday language. And this analogy just makes it all click into place. Take a look at the negative proposition. If I tell you the emir is not in this city, and you find out I'm lying, what does that prove? It proves the opposite is true. The emir is in the city. Khusraw's point is that the Sophists' claim, nothing has reality, works the exact same way. It's a huge, sweeping negative statement. And since we already proved that it can't be true, it has to be false. And when you prove a big negative statement is false, you automatically prove a positive reality. What's so amazing here is that Nasir Khusraw wasn't having this argument in a vacuum. This question about what's real is a fundamental human thing, and thinkers all over the world and across centuries have tackled it. But they all came at it from very different angles. Let's see how Khusraw's approach stacks up. This chart really puts Khusraw's unique genius on display. Look at the different strategies. Plato kind of agreed with the Sophists that our physical world was shifty and unstable, but he saved reality by imagining this whole other perfect, stable world of forms that our world is just a shadow of. Then you have René Descartes, centuries later in France. He went the other way. He doubted everything he could possibly doubt, until he was left with just one thing he couldn't doubt, the fact that he was doubting. I think, therefore I am. But Khusraw's move is totally different from both of them. He doesn't need to invent a higher reality like Plato, and he doesn't have to retreat into his own mind like Descartes. He takes the argument head-on, using nothing but pure logic to show that the very language you'd use to deny reality makes no sense. It's just so clean and elegant. So, after that amazing logical takedown, where does that leave us? Well, it gives us something incredibly important, a foundation, a solid ground to stand on. It tells us that the search for knowledge isn't just a pointless game built on nothing. And this, right here, is the key takeaway. Khusraw's logic doesn't prove that the specific chair I'm sitting on is real, or that the stars are exactly what they seem to be. It's way more fundamental than that. It proves that the category of real things cannot be empty. It establishes a logical bedrock that reality itself must exist, because the only alternative is literally unspeakable. This doesn't end the conversation about reality. It gives us the firm ground we need to finally begin it. And this brings us to his final, very practical conclusion. He says, look, once logic has guaranteed that reality exists, our senses are the tools we have to go out and explore it. So since we know reality is a thing, and our senses are our window to it, trying to have a conversation with someone who denies their own senses is a complete dead end. You've got to start somewhere, and our senses are that starting point. Hey everyone, if you enjoyed this video, hit that like button and don't forget to subscribe. Drop a comment below, I'd love to hear what you think. Your support really means a lot and helps me keep creating content for you all. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Nasir Khusraw found his foundation in the unbreakable rules of logic. It's a really powerful answer to a really deep question. So the question on this slide is for you. What do you rely on? What's the bedrock that gives you confidence that the world around you is real? I'd love to hear your thoughts down in the comments.